This is an unboxing and review of the TurboTorch Nitrogen Purge Kit. The model is NPK-TT, part number 0386-1370. Let's open this up. It came shipped in the box just like this. Let's see what's inside. It has some weight to it, actually. It's a little heavier than I thought. Here, let me tilt the camera down a little bit. So let's see what it says. Comes with the TurboTorch inflatable purge tip. So it looks like this tip will inflate and get bigger and kind of fill the whole pipe so it doesn't leak back out. And these are rubber cone tips, so you can kind of just jam them into the pipe to seal it. That's for 1/2 inch and 3/4. There's a needle tip, and there's the CO2 adapter, and you have your regulator, the pressure regulator. One's for incoming pressure and the other is for the outgoing pressure. The PSI is in the center of the gauge, in the red, and you also have a blowgun that comes with it also. So let's see if we can get it out of the packaging. Okay, here's the inflator, as you can see here. It's kind of ribbed to seal it better. And hang on one second. Okay, and I forgot to turn it around. If you look on the back side, you got a set of hoses. I am not sure what that is yet, actually, and that looks like a chuck for inflating your tires. So, you know, Costco, if you go to Costco and you buy tires from them, they actually inflate your tires with nitrogen, and you can do the same from home with this kit. I don't know how much it would cost or how much nitrogen you would use in the process, but you do have that option to inflate your own tires. Now this is the blowgun portion. Meets OSHA standards as well. The number is 410-S. It's good for up to 150 psi. Has some good weight to it. It feels pretty good. It also has a threaded portion on the nozzle end as well, which is interesting. So let's see. We have the inflatable purge tip, and you can see a little slit. Let's see if it'll focus. You can see a little slit there on the end. That's where the nitrogen will come out at. So here's the adapter, the CO2 adapter. If I can get it out, it's taped. So this is what's going to actually attach to your tank. Is this adapter, and there's a washer in there that they kept taped up. And this is a solid brass. And it feels of good quality. Here's the tips, and this is the 1/2 inch tip, and you can see there's a little orifice on the end, and this will screw into to the attachments. It will screw into the hose. It looks like it's a regular quarter inch fitting. And here's the 1/2 inch fitting. And it's cone shaped and tapered, so you can jam it into the pipe and then and put the nitrogen in, and it will have a pretty good seal where that rubber will give a little bit, so that's good. Then the needle tip. Needle tip's kind of nice. You can force it into small areas. There we go. And that's also a 1/4 inch end, threaded end on it, and it's just a long needle, as it says. Let's see if we can get the regulator out. Oh my God! Yeah, that's nice. That has some very nice weight to it. There's some kind of white liquid in there, like some kind of lubricant. I believe that's what that this goes to, that I was wondering before. And that also has the same lubricant on it. Yeah, it's some kind of lubricant. I think it's just threads into the end here. It says read instructions before use. That's not a bad idea. But I don't want to get it dirty. One second. Let me get the dust and dirt off it. So it looks like it just threads down in here. So you just take it like so, thread it down, and this is how you, this must be how you regulate the pressure. So find out more about that when we read it. This looks like to be some kind of exhaust port there on the, or some kind of safety relief. It says, yeah, relief, do not alter, 600. So I guess over 600 psi, maybe this this will exhaust to prevent explosions. So it looks like you got the part that attaches to the tank, and then you have the part that attaches to the hose. And then there's the chuck for your tires if you wanted to inflate your tires. And here's your set of hoses you get. You get a red and a blue hose. Has angled connectors on one end and straight connectors on the other end. It was inspected by number 7. Oh, nice. Lucky number 7. The hoses feel good. They're very nice and supple. It's Pro Set quarter-inch standard refrigeration charging hose. It's 3,000 psi, 206 bar burst, 700 psi maximum. It's a very nice hose, actually. Very, very nice. And here's the instructions. It's pretty basic, straightforward instructions. Basically, it's telling you it was once standard practice to use refrigerant to clean out condensate drain line or to blow off a condenser coil. Regulations no longer allow the use of refrigerant in purging contaminants from a system and require an environmentally safe alternative. The TurboTorch Nitrogen Purge Kit uses inert gas, dry nitrogen or CO2. These are environmentally safe and cost-effective alternatives that offer consumer a wide range of uses. The pressure regulator, TurboTorch inflatable purge tip, charging hose with environmental shutoff valve. Charging hose with environmental shutoff valve. Okay. I don't know what that is. Needle tip and 2 sizes of rubber cone tips, OSHA-approved blowgun, and CO2 cylinder adapter. So you can purge a system of dry nitrogen, low flow, 2 to 3 psi, prevents internal oxidation and cleans the system of contaminants prior to charging it with refrigerant. You know, you always hear people talking about triple evacuation. You can see behind is a JB pump, stands for just better. That's a 5 CFM pump, and you know, you can fill the lines with nitrogen and then evacuate the lines with the refrigerant. With the pump. And then you put nitrogen in again, and then you evacuate again, and you fill up with nitrogen one more time, and then evacuate. And basically, you'll get most of the contaminants out. Pressure testing a system for leaks of nitrogen saves costly refrigerant and time. And regulator is capable of 500 psi delivery pressure and permits pressure testing a system and operating pressure. Be sure to review the recommended manufacturer specifications for maximum test pressure before testing. Now that's a good point, because R22 operates at far lower pressures than 410A, and you could damage components in a R22 system if you put too much pressure in. So I think maybe 150, no more than 200 psi for R22 to be on the safe end. But usually it has the max operating pressures listed in the instructions. So here it says that the TurboTorch inflatable purge tip, you use this to unclog drain pipes. The TurboTorch will expand inside the pipe and dislodge the clog with the use of gas pressure. If the pipe size is different than 3/4 or 1 inch, try the rubber cones provided in the kit. So if it doesn't inflate big enough to seal it, just try one of the rubber cones that it came with. CO2 cylinder adapter. The TurboTorch Nitrogen Purge Kit includes an adapter so the regulator can be used with either nitrogen or CO2 CGA 320 cylinders. Please make sure to know the recommended gas for certain applications. So that's what this is for. I need to go look at my nitrogen tank to see what the connector looks like. It has a little white nylon piece in there. I'm not sure about that yet. Setting up the equipment. Cylinders are high pressurized. Always handle with care. Never allow cylinders to be dropped, knocked over, or subject to excessive heat. Do not use a regulator if damaged parts are detected on the regulator, cylinder valve, where the inlet filter is missing or dirty. Inform your gas supplier of this condition immediately. Have a qualified repair technician clean or repair the regulator. Before attaching the regulator to the cylinder valve, a momentary open and close called cracking the cylinder valve dislodge loose contaminants that may be present. Open the cylinder valve only slightly. If the valve is open too much, the cylinder could tip over when cracking a cylinder valve. Oh, you see, so this is like a rocket taking off. If you open it too much, the pressure will cause the equal and opposite reaction, so the tank will tip over. So they say don't stand in front of the cylinder when you do it. Also stand behind or to one side. Only crack the cylinder valve in a well ventilated area. Attach the regulator to the cylinder valve and tighten it securely. Before opening the cylinder valve, release the tension on the regulator adjusting screw by turning counterclockwise until all spring tension is released. So apparently closed is this way, and you can rotate it and you'll start feeling the pressure. Like I could feel pressure, so just back it off and you'll feel it loose, and that should be closed. So when you start feeling pressure, that must open it. So that should be closed. Slowly and carefully open the cylinder valve to the cylinder pressure regulators and a high pressure gauge. Then open the cylinder valve completely to seal the valve packing. Hooking up the hoses. So it tells you just the basics of hooking up the hoses. They want you to connect the straight end of the 3-foot red hose to the outlet of the blowgun. Just hand tie it and connect the bent end of the 3-foot red hose to the turbo tornado rubber cones or needle tip when using. Now, if you wanted to flow nitrogen for doing brazing, you might use more nitrogen than you plan to, because it would be hard to regulate with this. This is not something you can fine tune the flow with. I mean, that 2 to 3 psi they say for purging, that's going to be hard to do with this. And they have the I don't know where let me go grab that real quick. So they also have the TurboTorch flow meter. It's 1/4" connection, and the maximum pressure is 50 psi, and the outflow is 0 to 75 SCFH, and that's standard cubic feet per hour. So you can really fine tune much better using this flow meter. And it has a little ball bearing in there that will rise up, so you know you got the flow not too excessive. Because if the flow is too excessive, you're really wasting a lot of nitrogen. So this is going to attach to this, and then your hose is going to attach to the bottom here, and then you'll really be able to fine tune it. And it says here you don't want more than 50 psi, so make sure that you don't crack this open too much. And have more than 50 psi, because this is not designed for more than 50 psi. So let me put it together and see how it works. So I grabbed the nitrogen tank, and just as instructions say, just crack it open real quick. Blow out any debris there, and you can see there's a little bit of it looks like a little metal. What is that? It's a very porous metal there in the inlet. It looks, I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, just make sure it's clean. There's nothing on there, and here too. Make sure that's clean. Now, remember the adapter I mentioned earlier? This must be for the CO2 tank and not the nitrogen tank, this adapter, because it just this will go on directly, so that's fine. So just insert that all the way, because this is a flare nut connection, you know, flare type fitting where it's just metal to metal contact, so you don't want, it needs to be tight, basically. Now you can face the regulator in any direction. I'm going to face it up because it's kind of short and I don't want to have to keep looking down to the side. So I'm just going to tighten this by hand first, and use an adjustable wrench and get this tight. I don't want to grab the gauges because that's going to be a little more. Okay. Let's try that. So I don't have any pressure on this, so. Huh. So closed is down. Before I suspected that it was open, but this must be closed. Is down all the way. No? I don't know how you turn it off. No, there we go. I must have not had it up all the way before. Okay. So now I'm reading at about almost 2,000 psi. I was told by someone online that it's about 2,500. So I don't know if I didn't get a full tank or what. Let's see if I crack it open all the way. You know what? Let me grab my safety glasses. Hang on one second. Yeah, safety glasses is never a bad idea. Release some pressure. Okay. What I want to do is do a leak test, so make sure I got something going in there. Okay. So I'm going to use the leak detector here and see if we have any leaking, because I don't want to waste a bunch of this precious nitrogen. Now if this was like an acetylene tank, you would definitely want to do a leak test, because if the acetylene builds up in your garage or enclosed environment, you'd really be in trouble if it something ignited it. So let's see if we have any bubbles. So according to the instructions, they want you to slowly and carefully open the cylinder valve until the cylinder pressure registers in a high pressure gauge. So let's just do that over again. So I released the pressure that was built up in there. So they want you to slowly and carefully open the cylinder valve until the cylinder pressure registers in a high pressure gauge, like so. Then open the cylinder valve completely to seal the valve packing. So apparently the higher pressure helps seal the valve packing in there. And next we hook up the hoses. Examine the hose fittings before attaching them. Do not use if cuts, worn areas, or damaged. Repair, replace. Connect the blue hose to the regulator hand tight. But you know what? Well, I'm not going to be flowing nitrogen for brazing yet, so we're just going to hook the hose up directly to it and not hook up the flow meter as of yet. So let's connect the blue hose to the regulator. Make sure to connect the straight end of the blue hose to the regulator. And the 45-degree hose end contains a valve core depressor. The valve core depressor is present for the old standard valve caps, but it can be adjusted. Oh, so they don't have a they don't have anything to depress the Schrader valve in the straight end, but they do on the bent end. There is something to depress the Schrader valve in the bent end, so that's why they want to do that. Then it has a rubber O-ring in there. That looks very familiar. ProSet. That's the same brand that's on my CPS micrometer. So since there's an O-ring on there, you don't have to get it too awfully tight. So let's connect it to the blow gun. Like so. Now, if you weren't connecting this to a blow gun, you can connect it to the line set. If you were going to, purge the lines of nitrogen, you just connect it directly to the Schrader valve on the HVAC system you're using. So as you can see, we have no pressure in here right now. So we can slowly turn this. Then the pressure will start reading. Now this would be the maximum you'd want to use for the flow meter, is the 50 psi. You don't want to go above 50 psi for the flow meter. And as you can see now, we're about 50, 55. That's kind of excessive, but you can use it to blow up computers, what have you. At 50 psi, that feels pretty powerful. Let's try more. Wow, that's really powerful. So be cautious, because the burst, let's see, what is this? What did I say it was? It's 3000 psi. Oh, so never mind. 750 psi max. So no, you're fine. So we can turn it up more. I feel a lot of potential behind this now. You can feel it tightening up. Wow. I've never had something that powerful before for blowing anything out. So let's turn that down some. And then we totally emptied it. So that's pretty cool. Let's attach the flow meter and see what that looks like. Oh, actually no. Let's attach this. I want to see how big this inflates. Now I don't know the specification for the max pressure you want to use for the inflatable purge tip. Oh crap. Operate the blow gun with a maximum inlet pressure of 100 psi. Okay, I exceeded that. So don't do what I did. You're not supposed to go above 100 psi, and I went to above 200 psi, so be careful. And I don't know, the purge tip, it doesn't tell me the maximum psi for that, so let's holy crap. Okay, that's pretty interesting. So yeah, that would definitely fill up a pipe nicely and purge it out. That's really cool. It's a really cool tip. The others are very self-explanatory, so I don't think we need to do that. So the next thing we want to do is let's hook up the flow meter and see what that looks like. Okay, so I have the flow meter attached, and the cylinder valve is open all the way. Now, you don't want to open this more than 50 psi, because that's the max rated pressure for the flow meter is 50 psi. So slowly turn this in until you get 50 psi. And let me see. Yep, that's about 50 psi right there. Now I attached the hose to, you can see a little sample braze I did, and of course, you know, you're going to put it at the end of the pipe much further away, otherwise you'll melt the tip. But you just see how you can, nitrogen is flowing. Now I don't think you need it more than about, let me zoom in on that for you. Okay, I zoomed in a little bit for you. So you just turn the knob counterclockwise until you get a little bit of a flow in there. And for what I know, it doesn't take much. I definitely don't think it takes more than 5. You don't need it up that high. Maybe about, I'm gonna have to do some more research online, but it's definitely not, for some reason I think it's about 3. And the scale, see, that's 5 and that's 10, so that's in between 5 and 10. So, you know, maybe right below 5. And you can definitely feel the nitrogen flowing through there, because then the pressure will build up. Let's see if you can hear that. Putting my finger over it. So yeah. So that should help with brazing to prevent the deposits inside the pipe, which can damage your compressor and other components in the future. So this will help you get it to a nice even flow, and that's going to pay for itself in nitrogen alone, and not having to buy so much nitrogen. Just remember not to have the low pressure on the low pressure gauge more than 50, and the high pressure gauge, they want you to open up all the way to seal the valve. I'm not exactly sure how that works internally, but well, let me stop wasting nitrogen. I think you get the point. But anyway, this seems like a very nice kit. It pretty much has everything you'll need, and I recommend it. So this was the review for the TurboTorch Nitrogen Purge Kit NPK-TT. Part number is 0386-1370.